Welcome back, welcome back. People say that Bryan Adams has something of the Midas touch. He sold more than 65 million records all over the world, has been nominated for 3 Oscars, 5 Golden Globes for his film music, and has the record for the longest running #1 in UK chart history. He's a truly global brand. This week he's performing in peace concerts in Georgia and London. But before I speak to him, here's a quick clip from his 11th, his latest album, his first single from that album, in fact, called I Thought I'd Seen Everything.
No, I thought I'd seen everything till I saw you. I thought I'd been everywhere till I've been with you. I thought that everyone knew what I knew. I thought I'd seen everything till I...
The man himself. And he's here now. He's here right now.
Good to see you, David.
Great to see you too, Bryan. And in fact, I mentioned Georgia just then, Small World department, you're in fact leaving after this interview to do a concert tonight in Georgia.
Correct, exactly. We're doing a show. We were invited only last week to go there, to Tbilisi, to do a peace concert there. Apparently, after 40 days since the altercations have ended, they are having a celebration, and they've asked us to be the sort of masthead of that.
You've done a lot of concerts and a lot of things for a lot of causes, haven't you? I mean, in terms of
I suppose so.
charity and political things too.
Yes.
And in fact, you said on one occasion that your principle was that we should all be concerned about the protection of each other and our environment. Is that your gospel, really?
I think it is. I mean, I suppose you could say singing for Nelson Mandela before he was released was political, but as it turned out, it's such an amazing thing to have done, looking back, because he was a great man, and things like supporting Amnesty International, which I still do, I guess political, but again, it's all in the cause of, and I like to think of it in terms of writers, a lot of people that speak out and speak their minds, have something to say. I've always spoken my mind, and so I support that.
And you spoke your mind and sung your heart out. With all the touring you've done, I mean, how many countries do you think you've sung in?
Well, I worked it out that I probably have been to half of the world.
Really?
Yeah, but I don't know how much I can recollect, because sometimes it's very quick. But I haven't seen a lot of Africa. I haven't been to China yet. I've been to Hong Kong and Taiwan, but I haven't been to mainland China. There are lots of parts of Russia I haven't seen. Recently, we came back from South America and we toured the entire continent, except we didn't get to French Guiana and some other places which I wanted to see. But, life is long. That's my other saying. I think that it's nice to be able to think in terms of being able to go back. It's a big world. It really is.
And I suppose that the song that you're most associated with, well, what you think is the most?
Well, there's a couple. There's the Summer of '69, which has become very anthemic, and of course the chart topper, which you mentioned earlier, which is Everything I Do. Both of them have become very sort of universally known.
Everything I do it for you, yes, yeah. is in every language in the world.
It is, yeah. And what's interesting about that song is that it did communicate in languages which people didn't speak English. So if suddenly it was a song that was #1 in every country in the world, not just in the UK, because people identify with the simplicity of it.
Yeah.
Simple title.
Good title, simple title's the best. Yeah.
Yeah.
There was a wonderful thing that you said that, in fact, your first album wasn't a great success. The third one was the one that really broke through. But I loved the quote that you were going to call, after the first one hadn't particularly worked, you were going to call the second one, what was it?
Bryan Adams Hasn't Heard of You Either.
That's it. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Which is
I know. I wish I had called it that, but I got talked out of it. But at the time, by my record company, they didn't see the humor in it.
People may believe it. Yeah. you really mean it. Yes.
Yeah.
Take it literally.
Because, I mean, when you're starting out, it's always difficult to get people to listen and to pay attention. It's the same for any young band or young artist today. They'll say, have you heard the news such and such? And say, who? So that's where it comes from.
Yeah, that's where it comes from. And are there, you've performed with so many great artists on one track or another track and so on, and you've written for a lot of people, Bonnie Tyler and others. Is there anyone that you would like to duet with that you haven't managed to duet with yet?
Well, not really, no. Well, there are sort of, I mean, I like things like blues music a lot, so I like Etta James and I like Buddy Guy. I'd like to do records with those kinds of artists.
And of course you have a second career, a second bow to your arrow, or indeed arrow to your bow, and that is photography, and you've done 2 or 3 books about it, and you're a respected photographer. And was that just a natural extension?
Yeah, it was just, I think it was born out of frustration and more than anything, that I was sitting around on tour, for example, and I needed something to occupy myself with creatively. Now I actually record on tour, but back in the 90s, where I was just sort of hanging around hotels, I just picked up a camera and started documenting things, and ended up doing my album covers and doing portraits of friends. And
right. And what was
the theory that photographers live longer anyway.
Yeah. And they're not on camera, so they don't have to worry about anything. Yeah. But in fact, was the interview, of all the people you interviewed, who was the most sort of nervous-making?
I don't know. I always get a little bit nervous, depending. It doesn't matter who it is.
But I was thinking that you would probably answer that by saying your famous photograph of the Queen.
Well, I didn't have time to get nervous for that. There was only everybody that was. It was during her Jubilee, and there was, I think, 5 or 6 photographers from the Commonwealth that were asked to photograph her, and each of us got 5 minutes, and that's it. So you didn't have much time.
Oh no.
But I think I got longer than 5 minutes in the end, because there were some chats that went on.
Oh great. And
Yeah.
I don't know whether this is the highest accolade of all. Perhaps it ended up as a postage stamp.
Yes, it did.
In Canada.
Yeah.
2 years running.
Yeah.
So, and I asked you about singers. Who would you most like to photograph?
Well, I don't know. I mean, it's ongoing. I recently did the cover of Interview magazine in America with Maggie Gyllenhaal, and I wanted to work with her, and suddenly that happened. And I recently worked for Italian Vogue with Charlotte Rampling, and so I meet different people all the time.
Yeah. Well, we look forward to your next book of photographs.
Thank you, David.
And your next album, and your next single.
Thank you, sir.
Etc., etc., etc. Thank you very much indeed, Brian.
Very kind. Nice to meet you, David.
Great to have you with us.
Cheers.
In a minute, the man who has the awesome responsibility of being the UN Secretary General, Ban Ki-moon, after this break.